and SNLS.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
Interesting new ad campaign from Applebee's, which is encouraging customers to visit the restaurant ironically.
They're designed to attract young people to Applebee's by inviting them to ridicule its food service and atmosphere. Here, take a look.
What do you guys want to do?
We could go to Applebee's. No, let's seriously go to Applebee's. Look, guys, it's grilled.
It's just like my neighborhood restaurant, only completely geographically non-specific.
Yeah, nothing like a wild time at Applebee's, right?
Applebee's. Wouldn't it be funny to go to Applebee's?
I like
Isn't that
it.
persuasive?
Yeah.
But, they're not resting on their laurels. They're adding new menu items designed to be ridiculed outright, like the fajita cordon bleu and the chicken strip explosion.
Those sound ridiculous.
I know, but so far this has been so successful that Applebee's is actually prepping a second series of ads aimed at customers who enjoy making fun of annoying young people who do things ironically.
This is the underneath.
That's right. Welcome to the third episode of Aria Uncensored, broadcast live at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, you know that on twitch.lrn.fm and dlive.lrn.fm. And, of course, I'm joined tonight, as I've been promoting throughout the last week, by Derrick J.
Hey!
Of Victimless Crime Spree.
Yeah.
That's where I actually know you from Porkfest, but, that's the
Really?
feature. Yeah.
Cool.
That was the first time I met you.
That's when I met you, too. You were doing Call to Freedom.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are you doing Call to Freedom? This doesn't make any sense.
Were you the one who asked me if I was a Muslim? Somebody asked me at that
you.
particular Porkfest.
Well, I'm sure plenty of people ask you that. Are you?
I am not.
Okay.
I'm an atheist.
Then why were you on Call to Freedom? I don't get it.
It originated as a Muslim show, right?
Yeah. The intro music and everything is like, hello.
It may have used to be. It's not now.
Oh, okay. Is it hardcore like the intro music to this show?
Some of it is. That was actually something that I wrote called Weeping as the World Dies.
You made that song?
I did.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did you record it?
Yes. I'm actually
what?
a really fucking good guitar player.
Wow.
With my computer and my GNX3 effects processor.
Cool.
So
Did you do vocals on that?
No, I'm terrible at vocals. I do have a singer who sang during that, and you can hear the live version of that probably nowhere at this point. I do have a live version of that where we had Jonathan Ledesma singing, and it was really awesome.
So, not a Muslim, but on a Muslim show. How did this happen? You and Will,
It originated as a Muslim show between Will and Davi Barker.
Mm-hmm.
But over time, Davi left the show, so Will...
Is Davi still a Muslim? Anyone who listens to this show know who Davi is, by the way? He goes by Muslim Agorist on Twitter. But I don't think he's a Muslim anymore.
No, there appears to be some dispute about whether or not he's still a Muslim.
Well, when I booked a room with him at a Liberty Forum one year, we bunked together in the same room, and he would lay down the mat and do the prayer, 5 times a day. So, he was a devout, practicing Muslim at least a few years ago. But I get the impression that may have changed.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the case. Will seems to think that Davi hooked up with these two lesbians or these two Yeah, right.
Is Will still a Muslim?
Will is still a Muslim, yes. I have no reason to doubt. And I'm not doubting Davi's faith. I want to be clear on that. The contention is not coming from me. It's coming from other Muslims within the community that doubt whether or not he's still devout.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know. I've only spoken with Davi once, and that was, when he filled in for Will on the Call to Freedom.
Right. Okay.
So that was how it
What
originated.
made you want to take over a Muslim show?
Well,
doesn't seem like an atheist thing.
At the time, I was just doing a blog, right? anarchistshemale.com, which no longer exists. Don't even bother to look that up.
Why is that no longer? Why anarchist shemale? That sounds like a good thing to keep going.
Well, it is, and it's ongoing now at theanarchistshemale.com. But
why did you have to add a "the"? Did your thing expire and someone else grabbed it?
Yes.
Oh man.
Well, I could have renewed it, but I didn't. I wasn't pursuing that at the time. In fact, I had made the decision to move away from the the label anarchist shemale because it bothers so many people. It puts me at sort of a cap of, this is how successful I can become doing this sort of public stuff.
So are you the anarcho-tranny now?
I am
more acceptable.
I am no by many names. Tranny doesn't seem to be that much more accepted than shemale. Actually.
I know, but I'm trying to take it back. I think it should be. I think tranny should be a good name.
I think shemale is a perfectly cromulent word, if you don't mind me quoting The Simpsons.
Cromulent?
Yeah, it's a totally made-up word.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but so is shemale. I mean, so is every word, realistically. But, I think shemale is a perfectly fine word. It perfectly I don't have to fucking explain to people. You can say fucking here, by the way. I don't have to fucking explain to people what a shemale is when they ask me, what are you? And
they
says,
know.
I'm a shemale.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I understand that. But when you go, I'm a male to female trans person, they have to, wait, hold on. Let me process all of that.
And it probably comes with a lot of baggage. Like they think you're a social justice warrior too.
That
They're
happens
like,
so fucking much.
Oh, well then you must hate me because, I'm really inappropriate. And you're like, no, actually I think that's cool.
No, I mean, every day on DLive and Twitch, we have people intentionally trying to push my buttons by calling me a trap and things like that. I'm like, dude, you're going to have to try way harder than that to piss me off. I am from rural Mississippi.
Are there any words that you don't like?
Not particularly. I do find it somewhat degrading when other people refer to me as a tranny and they're not friends and they're not using it in that lighthearted sort of, well, Aria fucking calls herself a tranny, so who gives a shit?
It's
context.
like the way you say it sometimes,
It is.
Like if you're trying to be, oh, that's a really nice dress. Like sometimes, like, oh, well, on its face, you're saying a compliment, but you clearly are trying to insult somebody.
Right.
So the two ways you could say a thing, I get it.
Right.
All right.
So, like, the other night, because I made note of it because it was really funny, Mark asked Ian whether or not, he really thought he was going to be successful in shoving this tranny down the Republicans' throats. And,
what? Sorry, back up and explain that to me.
So, I'm a member of the Republican Party now.
Cool.
And
that must drive them nuts.
Yeah, we think so. Well, I mean, they seem to be relatively okay with it, except they did sort of do a
very nice.
They except for the mobilization of what appeared to be a lot of inactive Republicans in order to prevent me from becoming the secretary of the Keene Republican Committee.
That would probably happen no matter who you were, if you were associated at all with LRN or
they made him fucking president of the committee.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like they just had it.
Maybe not.
He showed up and they were like, here's this fucking committee, have it.
I'm the chairman of the Keene Republican
Wow.
City Committee.
How much younger are you than the next active member?
Oh, dear.
A few decades.
Yeah.
I'll bet. Okay, so that's what they're like, all right, well, we got to keep this thing alive. Keene probably has no chance.
Literally, almost.
Yeah, literally, yeah. In Portsmouth, there's no Republicans. They don't even run a candidate. They don't even try.
The ones in Keene don't run many. I mean,
there was one in 2016.
It's basically a dead party. And I mean, it's going to be a dead party within the next few decades if they don't do something about it. So we're like, hey, here we are. We're here. We're queer. Get used to it.
What's your platform?
Fuck you and fuck the government, more or less. I mean,
okay. That sounds great. Are they going to be on your lawn signs? I'll take one.
They were very close to the sheriff campaign signs when I ran for sheriff in 2016, right? 2018.
What was that?
The decriminalization of sex work and drugs.
Nice.
Or not just,
that's your platform?
Yeah, it was the platform. And it went relatively well. I mean, I got 2.4% of the votes. Which was more than most other libertarians did in three-party races, but
you might even do better now that you've got the name recognition. People have seen you on the ballot before and might pull the lever.
Ideally, I'll be running as not really ideally, but exploitatively, I'll be running as a Republican.
Why not a Democrat?
Time.
I would think you'd get more leeway there.
What, am I supposed to be progressive?
Well, like they want to be like, hey, we're palling up with the tranny, right?
The issue with that, though, is that Rivera, the current sheriff, is a Democrat.
Yeah.
So I would be running in the primary against an already elected Democratic candidate.
That's even better.
It is, but it's less likely to be successful. And it would
Oh.
only be within the niche of Democrats. It wouldn't be as public.
Okay.
So-
Have you ever seen The Simpsons vote for Bart as a vote for anarchy?
I have
you ever
not. I
considered?
stopped watching The Simpsons after about 1999.
Yeah. Well, he was running for like, I don't know, student government or something, and he was hanging up posters that say a vote for Bart is a vote for anarchy, and everyone
Awesome.
loved it. Yeah, it was cool, and I thought that would be a good lawn sign for you.
Anarchy is definitely a subject I want to talk about because it was talked about here on Free Talk Live, and it was actually talked about when I was on last night on Free Talk Live, but it wasn't something we were actually able to get into extensively when somebody called and asked, as libertarians, what would your ideal society be?
Mm-hmm.
And my answer, of course, would be the society that we have.
Huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I realize this is really complicated. But
So wait.
whatever arc humanity has to take that takes it from the dark ages of barbarism to a quote-unquote utopian libertarian society is the arc that it's going to have to take. Humanity at this point in time clearly needs to be in the place that it's at because it is at the place that it's at. And I think that people continuing to argue for liberty and things like that will ultimately win out. But that humanity as a whole has to go through these sort of growing pains that are the state. So realistically, although I want the end goal to be a specific thing, at this point in time, I think that what is happening for humanity is exactly what needs to be happening for humanity.
What makes you think that? Like,
Because
I understand your point, but why?
In order to cast off the state, I would make the point that we have to fully understand the horrors of the state.
Who's we?
We human beings who cast off the state and who choose voluntarism. And I realize that's a collectivist statement, right? But a lot of these people, they're not going to ever wake up and go, oh, well, you know what? Maybe you're right. We don't need the government to build roads. They're not going to have that revelation until long after the cattle carts.
It sounds like, if I could use an analogy, that your depiction of humanity outgrowing the state is somewhat akin to a baby chick, knocking up against the sides of an egg until it hatches. And it's like, we have to resist this thing that's all around us until we work up our strength to the point where we can exist outside of this thing.
That's exactly how I would put it. Yes. Very nicely put. And I don't know if I'm correct or not, but that's kind of the contention I'm making, is that I'm hedging my bets. I don't know what an ideal society would look like because I don't know what is best for humanity in the long run. And I would make that determination based on my criteria of what I think is good and what I think is bad. Other people would make that assessment based on different criteria. But in the end, all we really have, and this gets into topics like nihilism and evolution and things like that, all we really have are what helps humanity survive and what doesn't help humanity survive. But even beyond that, we have questions like, is humanity surviving ultimately a good thing? It's like, well, a good thing for who? The wider universe? Maybe this other life out there, we're going to develop this state, we're going to thrive, and we're going to annihilate countless life forms out there on other societies. I don't know. I don't have the answers to those questions. So my answer to this question about an ideal society is to let come what is going to come. Because I'm not a god.
Yeah.
I'm just a weak, fallible, stupid human being. Stupid earth monkey is how I like to characterize it. And I could be wrong.
Well, what about, you talk about humanity as like this group, but in a lot of ways, parts of the world stay behind and other parts progress. So I see like New Hampshire and Switzerland and Malta and some of these other places where people have internalized that the state is not good and that it's better to deal with each other on a voluntary basis as much as possible and like ever increase that. But then there are other places, I don't know, Somalia, Swahili, or whatever, just like picking random bad places, Venezuela, where people have just not learned that lesson yet. And they're going to keep bumping into the wall, maybe forever. Like maybe they'll never learn that lesson. And so we're all part of humanity, but I don't know that humanity as a whole can learn that lesson, only individuals.
Certainly. And this is why I make the case that the only time we're ever going to see this sort of society, this sort of libertarian or voluntarist or anarchist society, is when we're colonizing the stars. And when we have these huge gaps between Earth and its state, and between some colony on Titan or Europa or wherever we happen to put a colony, neither of those moons are actually suitable for human life. But that part aside, Gliesa 581c, if you don't like the examples I gave, once we get to the point where we are colonizing these and we have the distance to protect us from the aggressions of the state, because the state isn't going to like this. The state isn't going to like the sudden creation and productivity of a peaceful, voluntarist society, which, as I understand it, will be extremely productive and extremely good for the people who are involved in that. So the state, at its earliest opportunity, is going to seek to invade. It's why we can't do it here on Earth. We can't just buy an island, right, and put an anarchist society there, because it will only be a matter of time before the state invades. And the distance here on Earth isn't substantial enough to protect us from that invasion, as it would be in the case with these interstellar systems.
Yeah, but for how long?
Yeah, exactly.
I think
for long enough that we could build our defensive mechanisms in order to deal with the aggressions of the state once they come.
Okay, that makes sense.
Sort of similar to the Revolutionary War. The reason that the Americans won wasn't because they were more clever or more motivated by good and moral reasons or anything like that. It was because the Atlantic Ocean was fucking long, considering the time frame that this war happened in. If it happened today, sure, the American Revolution would not have been successful, because crossing the Atlantic Ocean is not anywhere near as big a deal today as it was in 1776. So certainly, once we start colonizing these planets and we have, what sounds like an enormous amount of time, 100 or distance, 190 light years or whatever, at the initial offset of this anarchist society, it will be an enormous difference, too much of a distance to send a bunch of troops and equipment and things like that in order to launch a successful invasion.
I learned about this guy named John Paul Jones. Have you heard this name?
I have not.
Okay, so he was this merchant sailor guy in the 1700s, around the time of the American Revolution. And he heard about the war, the Revolutionary War, and was so pissed off that he took a ship of his crazy crew across the Atlantic Ocean from the Americas to Britain to go attack the British in their waters. The biggest navy, the world had ever seen. One guy on a ship, with a crazy crew, and he actually won. He took their ship. Yeah,
that's fucking amazing.
Yeah, and he made it home.
I've never heard that. What was the name again?
John Paul Jones. Look this guy up.
Yes,
yeah,
I will have to look that up.
What a badass. So you make a point about the Atlantic Ocean being so big. I see it as a twofold thing. Yeah, it's important. Like I carry a gun every day, and that's a tactical, like, physical defense to protect my general freedom. Not against the government, so more specifically, but against the general
they are
public.
the primary threat against freedom, but they're not the only threat against your freedom.
I mean, I wear it generally because of people who could attack me one-on-one, like a robber or something,
Okay.
But then the broader point of, like, how do you win these, how do you get to a state of more freedom? I think that's only through philosophy. So it's a two-prong approach of getting myself personally to a state of more freedom is by increasing my philosophy, my understanding of freedom, and the best way to interact with other people, and to use physical defense. So the two are, like, inseparable.
I would certainly agree. I just don't think the philosophical approach is likely to work anytime soon.
But
And that in the end, the best result for it is probably to move a bunch of people to a specific place. And I realize I'm saying this in the destination of the Free State Project.
Right.
Right.
But think about Thomas Paine and what he wrote, the pamphlet Common Sense, and Pass It Among the People. I mean, that was like, I think I've read the statistics, like it was read by about 90% of the population of the Americas at the time of the American Revolution. So without a foundation that we can all agree on, like, okay, these are the principles that we want to live by, without that, I doubt that the American Revolution would have been as successful, even if it was just as powerful or maybe twice as powerful.
Well, according to people who lived at the time, it was only about 1/3 of the people who supported the American Revolution. About a third were
fought,
Tories.
right?
Well, only a third supported it ideologically. And
how do you measure that?
Well, the people at the time did. I don't. But they said we weren't universally opposed to remaining loyalists. About a third of us were Tories. About a third of us were patriots, and about a third of us were indifferent. I think it was Thomas Jefferson who made that statement. I don't remember exactly who it was.
Well,
but people who were there at the time says, this was not unanimous.
Well, my point is that you can't ignore philosophy. That's an important component to increasing freedom for yourself.
Certainly.
And
That's
for
why I do
the
these
broader
shows,
population.
you know?
Why?
To promote the philosophical ideas of liberty and freedom. I just don't expect it to take root and to come to fruition in my lifetime. I would love for it to, don't get me wrong, and that's part of the reason I do what I do. I just don't expect it.
So are we supposed to stay on freedom topics?
I don't care what you can talk about whatever the hell you want.
I wanted to ask about your makeup.
Okay.
Where do you get it? What kind of makeup
I
do you
use cheap makeup, really. Really?
You don't have like a special brand of like, I use this guy as...
No, a lot of people use Sephora and Ulta.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that I use comes from
Or
either
Jeffree
of those places.
Star. Jeffree Star has a line of his own makeup.
I get confused for Jeffree Star like an alarming regularity.
Awesome. That's a high compliment.
I don't think so, because Jeffree Star isn't trans, right?
Well, he's beautiful.
He's just maybe, but he's not trying to be a woman or anything like that. And
that's true.
Yeah, and I am. I mean, for all intents and purposes, whether it triggers the left or not, realistically, yes, I am trying to be a woman. So being confused or mistaken, because I've had, at my other job, I've had people come in and say, "Are you Jeffree Star?" Yes, I decided to drop all the fucking fame and money and things like that to get this menial ass job here dealing with you. Yes.
When you say you're trying to be a woman, what sorts of things have you had to do to try to be a woman?
Learning makeup, growing my hair, fulfilling all of the stereotypes about women for the most part, with the exception of my voice, which I really can't do anything about short of vocal surgery, which is really expensive and kind of hit and miss in the first place.
Yeah, and I think you can kind of damage your throat if you change your voice too much, right? Like if you tried to talk in too much of a falsetto or something, it would just...
Well, nobody wants to hear a falsetto. Right.
I don't know.
They think they do. And, I've had a lot of people, why don't you just talk in a falsetto? Like, have you ever listened to somebody speaking in a falsetto for an extended period of time? You will want to punch them. No matter how peaceful you are, you'll get frustrated with it and get sick of hearing it.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's annoying. Because you can tell that it's fake. It doesn't have the timbre to it that it should.
So how do you feel when you hear the expression, be yourself?
I am being myself. The trans thing it's so weird because it's about what other people judge me as, right?
Yeah.
And I'm an advocate that I'm the one who decides who I am, obviously, right?
But you said you're trying to be blank, which if you fill in the blank with anything, you're trying to be something else, right?
Yeah, and it's because I like women. I do. Well, not sexually any longer. In fact, I have decided within the last 6 months or so that I'm not sexually attracted to women at all.
Mm-hmm.
I just have this sort of idea that feminine beauty is the ideal beauty. And we can go into extensive conversations about whether or not this was actually programmed into me as a child and things like that, but ultimately it's irrelevant, right? My idea of beauty is feminine beauty.
Yeah.
So that's what I aspire to be. And it doesn't really matter to me whether or not other people validate that or not, but it's the reason that I attempt to conform to those stereotypes, because that is what I consider to be beautiful.
How do you feel you're doing?
I could be doing better, but I could also be doing worse. I mean, there's fucking Supermam, the Tiffany chick from GameStop, who went in there and did that.
I love that name.
So, I mean, I could certainly be doing worse,
Yeah. Well, it's not a competition.
It's not a competition between me and her. Certainly not.
Or anyone, right? I mean, who do you have to prove yourself to?
Just myself, ultimately.
Some people, I feel like, with Superman in particular, I'm like, you're not even trying.
She fucking wasn't trying.
How am I supposed to legitimately feel like I'm doing the right thing, calling you ma'am, if you're not even putting any effort into making me think you're ma'am?
That's the issue that I run into as well.
What do you mean?
People who don't put any effort into feminizing themselves, because we do have these understandings of what male is and what female is, and it doesn't ultimately matter whether they're social constructs or not, right? I know, and it happens sort of intuitively or instinctively, or it's programmed into us at such early ages that it might as well be instinctive. When you see someone on the street, you don't have to stop and think whether or not they're a he or a she. You categorize them almost automatically, instantaneously, at least. So you don't have to stop and think about whether or not this person has these characteristics. And we base that assessment on characteristics, but you don't have to stop and think about whether or not these characteristics are more apt to be linked to male or female. You just see a person and you go, okay, he. It happens instinctively, right? You don't stop to think about, oh, well, there's this guy at the store. Should I call him sir or ma'am? No one ever stops to fucking think about that. And when you're trans, what you're effectively asking people to do is to stop and think about that, because you don't have distinctly or uniquely feminine characteristics. You also have masculine, and there's really not a lot you can do about that. So when I deal with people on a day-to-day basis, I am almost literally asking them to put in additional effort on their part.
You're like, use your imagination, you know?
Yeah, to stop themselves from focusing on my male characteristics that are more or less prominent than my feminine characteristics. It really isn't relevant. And to make the decision based on my preferences rather than this early childhood programming that would cause them to say something else.
So is it kind of fun for you, like coming up with the next thing you're going to do to your body to be more feminine?
It is not because, wow, that's a tricky question, actually.
I mean, I would kind of fantasize about it. If that was my thing, I'd be like, man, I can't wait to get some tits. That'll just be like, that'll be crazy.
I am. I mean, I'm growing tits very slowly. That's why I'm on spironolactone and estrogen, in fact, is to alter my body.
So you'll grow your own?
Yes.
Completely?
They won't be like D cups or anything like that. I think at
Do you
the
think
end,
you'll amplify?
Well, my boobs are already bigger than my sister's, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's got about the same build that I do. She's less muscular.
So what kind of
obviously.
cup is that? What are we talking?
I think she's an A cup, actually.
And you are?
Probably. This is why I do the show topless. If you watch at dlive.lrn.fm or twitch.lrn.fm, you can see them yourself. But I think they're probably low B's. Would be my guess.
Why does it have to be a guess? Don't you wear a bra?
I do wear a bra. None of them fit properly. I mean, I'm a trans person. I'm not going to find women's clothes that actually fit me completely.
You can't get a fitted bra? Like, I thought like Macy's does that.
I could, but I mean,
JCPenney will fit you for a bra.
Have you given much thought to how awkward it is to walk into one of these stores?
No, when I worked at a JCPenney, there was a woman. She told me, a man just walked in. He got fitted for a bra. You know, he was like probably getting some kind of sexual fetish thing out of it, or maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was like just legitimately trans person and she's a nut. But guys can do it.
Oh, I know they can do
it.
So
why don't you?
Well, a lot of it comes from the fact that I am from the South. The only time I ever went in as a male to buy a skirt, it was the most awkward fucking thing I've ever dealt with. So I knew...
And this was in Tennessee?
It was in Mississippi, which is south of Tennessee. So it's the furthest part of the deep fucking South, right?
Uh-huh.
So I went into this store, to a Cato, in fact.
To what?
A Cato fashion.
I don't know what that is. Oh,
it may be a Southern thing,
right.
a Southern store. I don't know.
Is it like trendy, sort of, or like what kind of store? Are we talking, is it like a Claire's or like a little girl store? Or
it's
what?
more like Claire's.
Okay.
So I went in to buy a skirt. It was actually fucking Halloween at that because I was going out. It was the first time I ever went out as a female. So obviously I remember it very vividly.
Your heart must have been pumping. Like you were real nervous going into this store.
Not really, because I generally don't give a shit what people think.
Okay.
I mean, I've always been kind of fucking weird.
Yeah.
So they're going to think what they think. But that doesn't affect things when I'm standing there to check out a skirt.
Mm-hmm.
And I've already, I know my size. I know what I'm looking for. No, I didn't try it on. I know my size, right? So
how did you know your size if you hadn't worn a skirt before?
Oh, I had worn a skirt before.
Who? Your sisters?
No. Yes. Like I said, we have almost exactly the same build.
Were you stealing your sister's skirt to put it on?
Yes. Through most of my life, the only way I had to acquire feminine clothes was to steal them.
Does she know that?
Yeah, she knows that now.
Wow. What did she think when she found out?
She was not a fan.
Yeah.
There's a reason I don't talk to her today.
Oh, I didn't know that there was bad blood.
Oh,
that wasn't it, though. It wasn't just trying on clothes. There had to be more. If you guys aren't talking, that's pretty serious.
It was the fact that I'm trans, and she doesn't
like that?
And she doesn't want that around her kids because it will damage their innocence. Yeah. So I went to the store to buy this skirt, and I already knew my size and things like that. So I went to check out, and the girl was like, "Oh, you buying this from your girlfriend?" And remember, it's fucking Halloween, right? So you got to expect some weirdness anyway.
Yeah.
I was like, "No." It's like, "Oh, a wife?" Nope.
Why would she ask?
I don't fucking know.
She wanted to know the answer was for you.
I guess
she just wanted to hear it.
I guess so, but
were you wearing makeup at the time? Were you like appearing feminine?
I may have been wearing eyeliner. But
So she was like, "This is for you, isn't it?"
but I've worn eyeliner since I was like 13, so
Yeah.
that wasn't particularly unusual for me.
Did you wear girls' pants? Like, did you wear girls' sizes, other clothes?
Not in
besides
public.
skirts? No.
I mean, that was the watershed moment,
Yeah.
as it were, was me going out that Halloween. And of course, it was Halloween, and that made it easier for me. But then the next few times after that, I was on anti-anxiety meds at the time, like Klonopin, and that made it easier.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm not on those now,
That's pretty serious.
but I was then. I have issues with anxiety, but I've
Do
decided
you
to.
still take Klonopin?
No, I just deal with my anxiety of my own accord without taking pharmaceuticals.
Mm.
It's not as effective. But it didn't.
Klonopin was more effective?
No, you're correct. There's a reason I'm not on it. I deal with my anxiety better without the Klonopin. That's certainly true.
That's good, because that stuff messes you up. I've seen people take
Yeah.
that, for legitimate purposes and recreationally, and it just looks awful.
Well, the only times I ever actually needed to take it was when I knew I was about to go out in public. Because remember, this is the deep fucking South, right?
Uh-huh.
This is where they would shoot. What was that fucking show where they drove in the red car with the Confederate flag on it?
Don't tell me. Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, this is where they would shoot Dukes of fucking Hazzard.
For real?
I don't know if they
Oh,
shot
this
it
is
there,
like-
but this is.
okay.
I mean, this is rural Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
What's up? Uh-huh.
Yeah. She's from Hazard County.
Is Hazard County a place?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, it's not when you're actually from there, I would point out. It's just this desolate rural area full of heroin and meth addiction and fundamentalist Christians who see no apparent conflict. But like my dad, right? Hardcore heroin addict.
Oh, man.
Hardcore opiate addict. Most of my family is.
How did
there's
he get started?
opiates, doctors, that kind of things, writing him
Of
prescriptions.
course.
And, I mean, there isn't a pill on this planet that he wouldn't take. You tell him, hey, this is going to fuck you up. He'll take it. Won't give
Yeah.
it any thought whatsoever.
Yeah.
But of course, he's a fundamentalist Christian. So when they found girls' clothes in my closet when I was 12, they were like, oh no, we have to send you to the pray the gay away camps.
Seriously?
Seriously, 3 years in a
Wow.
row. And I finally got out of that by like, okay.
How long were the camps?
They were through the summer. They were about well, it depended based on my redemption period and things like that. Once I was no longer gay or no longer at risk, I was allowed to go back home.
Did you hook up with anybody?
I did the final year, and that's why I was not allowed to go back.
Yeah, those
Was
always,
it one of the counselors?
No,
those always sound like, just a beautiful experience. But, when they say, like,
They are
well,
not.
we got to put all the gays together. It's, oh, yeah, that sounds awful. Oh, God.
well, yeah, there's that aspect of it to it, but more often than not, no, because we're all from those families that have brainwashed us from the times we were kids to believing that we were fucking evil. We were filled with demons. This was Lucifer trying to actually corrupt us. So we went in there. I went in there the first 2 years feeling just tremendous guilt that I liked wearing women's clothes. And I had no healthy mechanism to deal with that. So here I am in these fucking Pray the Gay Away camps having Leviticus beat over my head and shit like that with 12 years old, not having the intellectual or emotional or spiritual, quote unquote, capacity to deal with these sorts of things, just being told by these authority figures that I was evil and sinful and that I needed to be cured. So the first 2 years I went in there like, okay, I'm going to battle these demons. God is going to help me. Jesus is going to save me.
So you were religious. You believed in the fairy tales of, like, these
oh, dear God, man.
spirits are going to help you.
My family has actual fucking bunkers from when the Antichrist took over during Y2K because the computer binary code is 666. We have actual bunkers to this fucking day.
Wow.
In the state of Mississippi.
Wow.
Like, I am from that fucking area. And look at me. Look at me, everybody on Twitch and D-Live. That's where I'm fucking from. So you can only imagine. You can guess. I wrote a goddamn book about it called Dancing in Hellfire because it's on Amazon. That was the perspective I ultimately took with it and that was why I was never allowed back at that camp because I was like, you know what? These people are telling me I'm sinful. I go back home and I start to realize that these people are just absolutely full of shit. I become less and less religious until finally I get to the point because I got kind of a scientific bent anyway. So I'm curious where these people's fucking evidence is to substantiate any of this nonsense that they're telling me, and they're not interested in presenting evidence. They're interested in making me obey. And that is a problem for me because some of my earliest experiences with the state was being fucking ripped by the state's enforcers, the police, out of my fucking crying mother's arms to be carted off to go live with these people that I had never fucking met.
Oh, did you have a foster family?
No. Well, sort of. My grandmother.
Oh.
So I had technically met her, but only like once or twice at that point because we lived relatively far apart.
So the state took you out of your parents' house.
Out of my
moved you
mother's
to-
house because my parents were already separated at that time.
And they brought you to your grandmother's
Yeah.
house? Her mother?
Yeah. No, my father's
Your
mother.
father's mother?
I knew my mother's mother relatively well.
So, like, take
And it was a good decision. In the grand
was
scheme
good?
of things, it was a good decision.
Yeah.
I needed to get the fuck out of that drug-filled, alcohol-filled, abusive, because my mother had until she was murdered, she had a really bad tendency of dating people who were extremely abusive, which
Wow.
is probably why she was fucking murdered, by the
Do
way.
you date abusive people?
I do not. Because I saw all this shit and I was like, a lot of people have parents that are good examples and like, this is the way you should be. You should be a good, upstanding citizen and things like that. I had these horrific fucking examples where I looked at them and I was like, this is the way not to be. This is not good. This is not conducive to a family life or just a individual's well-being. This is bad. Why, bitch, why are you 3 stories up, drunk as fuck, puking and pissing on yourself, and you've got a 6-year-old kid here who needs to be taken care of? And I was 6 years old dealing with this shit.
That sounds really hard. That's pretty heavy.
Can
we talk about your relationships?
Actually, I was depressed through not depressed, but upset through like the first hour of Free Talk Live because this guy I've been pursuing for like the last 4 months. I call him my unicorn because I've been
impossible to get.
He's not impossible to get. He's just very difficult to get. He finally asked me out tonight. He was like, hey, I'm cooking dinner. Why don't you come over? I've got a fire lit in the backyard. I was like, all right, sweet. Yeah, right. But then he was like, I've decided against socializing. My kid's got he hurt his foot or something like that. And I was like, you fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, it's probably true, though. I mean,
I have no doubt that it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not calling him a liar or anything like that,
Right.
but it hurt.
Yeah.
Because
you got your hopes up. And then
I've been pursuing this guy for the better part of 3 months at least.
Well, it sounds like if an opportunity opened up tonight, it's pretty likely there will be another one coming soon.
I would hope so, because I told him like a week ago that I was sick of doing this. I was sick of throwing myself at him, and I'm not going to continue doing it.
Yeah.
He knows I want him. I'm done.
Is he local?
Yeah.
Cool.
Isn't it part of the libertarian thing though?
No.
No, he's just from here.
Yeah. You wouldn't want that.
No, if I thought he
It's incestuous.
if I thought he was listening to the show, I would not have approached this topic at all.
Good, so we can talk about him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what kind of person is this?
God, he is... A lot of people think I'm in love with the guy.
Yeah.
Because he is one of the most hilarious people I've ever met. Like, we joke all throughout the night at work. And I may, in fact, be, quote-unquote, in love with him. I think that's a useless term that I don't think there's much value in throwing around. I have a lot of attachment to this person, I suppose. And I think this person is especially special, pardon my grammar there. But I think he's very special. And what I desire is to know that he thinks I'm as special as I think he is.
Okay. Wait, you desire for him to know that you are, special
that was
as you
phrased very
think he
badly.
is?
I want to be as special to him as he is to me.
Okay.
And
That makes sense.
That to me is what the relationship or the romantic relationship ultimately is.
And you spend time with this person already, but not really romantically.
Right.
Sounds like you work together.
Right. We do work together.
Don't you think that's going to be a problem? I mean, that's
no.
another no-no. You shouldn't date.
It's not likely to be a problem, considering both of our personalities. And I think that's probably what the holdup is this awareness that, we do mesh together extremely well. Everybody at work thinks we're fucking anyway, right? Because
so you might as well be.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, why aren't you fucking me when everybody already thinks you are anyway? And
Yeah.
we don't do anything to dispel these rumors.
Has he dated a trans person before?
No.
So he's into it.
I don't know. I don't know if he's into it or not.
He only dated women before?
I mean, that's part, as far as I'm aware. Well, no, but he's only a bottom when it comes to men.
Okay.
And I think that's a
Would you fuck him?
no.
You were not into that.
No.
You wouldn't fuck anybody.
I'm also only a bottom when it comes to men.
Okay. But you would fuck women.
Yes.
Okay.
Probably not anymore. I think at this point I'm just a bottom, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe. If it was to facilitate the growth of the relationship, I probably would be willing to fuck him.
He's probably nervous. I mean, if he's strictly a bottom, if he's strictly a bottom with guys, then he has no experience and you have no experience. So this is a first for both of you.
I have plenty of experience being a bottom for guys.
Oh, right.
That's all I require of him.
Yeah, that's right. So this is a first for him. That's probably why he's nervous.
It's definitely a first for him because when we discuss this subject, because I'm a very frank person, I withhold myself very well on Call to Freedom to not dive. But even then, I find myself talking about licking anuses and things like that, which I thought to be acceptable, but which is not. I've been informed.
You can on Call to Freedom?
Well, you can't
Why?
on terrestrial radio.
Oh, they are on terrestrial?
Technically, we are not, but we want to be.
Oh.
And so I want to produce the sort of content that would make it easier to facilitate that.
Do you listen to Howard Stern at all?
Yes, but he's also not on terrestrial radio.
Not anymore, but if you listen to some of his
used to
older
be, yeah.
episodes, you can hear some of the clever ways that he gets around some of the subjects.
I listened to him a lot when I was in like the 6th grade to 7th grade.
Yeah. Well, then he uses terminology that is acceptable, but not too graphic.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, so we're both bottoms, so to speak, when it comes to this. But part of the issue, I think, comes from the fact that I'm not a cis chick.
Not a cis chick, meaning not a girl.
I don't have
who
a pussy.
Just is like presenting as a girl and in every other way is like a girl.
Right. I have masculine characteristics. I mean, I know I do. I'm muscular and things like that. I think he has a sort of mental block in place that causes him to view me, socially it's the right thing to do or whatever, to just view me as just a chick. But I don't think on the deepest, most instinctive levels that he does. So I think when he sees me, it's not as a chick, because I believe that if a genetic girl or a cis girl was throwing themselves at him to the extent that I have in the past,
it would be an easy win for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it's just a lot of hesitation.
Then why wouldn't you want to go after someone with like a hardcore trans fetish? Someone who's just like, that's all I want. I don't even want cis girls.
Because it's not just about the sex, right? It's about the personality. And I've never met anyone. I've never had any emotional attachment to a guy whatsoever. In my entire life, I've only developed those sorts of feelings for females until this dude. He crashed through every fucking emotional wall I had without even attempting to.
Why, does he have really messed up parents?
No.
So what do you guys have in common?
I don't know.
How did he crash through your...
I mean, if that was a question I could answer, then I could have helped other people in the past crash through those emotional walls, because I have other people who are interested in me, but who I have absolutely no emotional attachment for whatsoever. So, I mean, that's not really something I don't know how to get me to become emotional with a person. I have no idea. They have to figure that out for themselves, and it either happens or it doesn't happen. And in every previous case with men, it doesn't happen. I had a boyfriend in Mississippi before I moved up here. And I have no emotional... He could die...
How was that? You don't like him?
Boring. No, he had a really small dick, and he came like fucking instantly.
Wow.
Yeah. The combination of the two worst aspects of dudes, like right there.
How old was he?
He was about my age.
At the time you were...
I'm not answering that question.
Oh. Okay.
Hi, I'm Aria. I don't talk about my age.
Oh, okay.
So
I wasn't trying to figure out your age. I was just trying to figure out, like, sometimes young guys, they come pretty quick. So if he was pretty young, then, give him a break.
Well, I mean, he's my age, and I know that I last longer than
Were
that.
you young at the time?
I was younger then than I am now.
Okay.
By definition.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I will go with that. Neither of us were especially young. I mean, this was like right before I moved to New Hampshire. So this was about a year ago.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't terribly long ago.
All right.
But I did have a boyfriend technically before I moved up here. And of course, I'm poly, so we never actually sat down to be like, oh, I'm exclusive to you and you're exclusive to me or any of that kind. We just sort of let the relationship develop of its own accord.
Wait a minute. Did you talk about what sort of things you would allow in your relationship? I mean, not that you set limits, but you said, "Hey, I want to see other people. I'm gonna be screwing around."
We did.
Okay.
Actually.
So it was explicit. Like, he wouldn't be surprised if you went and had sex with someone else.
No, he would have known.
Would he want you to talk about it and, like, tell you proactively?
He would want me to not hide it, but
Right.
I don't think he would have been like, oh, by the way, I fucked some other dude today.
Right. So don't bring it up, but don't be dishonest.
Right.
Okay.
That was the key thing, was the honesty aspect of it.
That makes sense.
And the organic development of the relationship. And that's why I characterize myself as poly, even though I can have a monogamous relationship. It's not particularly problematic. I don't have to fucking fuck other people. That's not the issue. The issue is that I think relationships should be clearly expressed and clearly defined by the people who are participants.
Yeah. Like
And-
all relationships, like,
Yes.
pretty much.
And in monogamous relationships, that
Like business
tends to not
relationships,
happen.
everything.
Right. But when it comes to a man and a woman entering into a relationship, they leave 99% of it unspoken.
Yeah.
And that to me is a problem. If you don't
Yeah.
want me to sleep with other people, I need you to tell me that.
Communication, man.
Yeah, and it's not because I want to sleep with other people or anything like that. It's because I need to know what your fucking expectations of me are.
Yeah.
And I feel like I should be able to tell you what my expectations of you are.
So your ideal guy is polyamorous with you.
Maybe not necessarily. I mean, like I said, I could be monogamous. That I characterize myself as poly so that people have to stop and think about it and go, well, wait a minute. What do you think constitutes a relationship? And I say, well, it's people coming together who say, okay, well, these are the parameters upon which we're going to act and proceed.
Okay, so optionally poly, but not really exercising it very much.
I don't care if he.
Correctly.
I don't care if he exercises.
No, you.
In fact, that was one of the things I outlined to him. It's like, look, I get it. You know, you like fucking chicks. I don't have a vagina. If you want to fuck other chicks, that's fine, as long as I maintain this special place with you.
Would you watch? Would you be involved? I mean, you've fucked chicks before.
If that was on the table, I mean, sure, but it's not a requirement.
Huh. That could be great.
I mean, yeah, if he wanted me to watch and she wanted me to watch, absolutely. If they wanted me involved, absolutely. I'm not opposed to any of that, but it's not a requirement. Like, if he's just like, okay, look, I want some pussy. You don't have a pussy. I want this relationship to work with you, but I have this biological need to fuck pussy. I'm like, I get it. Go for it.
Okay.
Just keep in mind that I'm here, you know.
I don't know that it's a biological need. For
Yeah,
pussy.
biological need.
Like,
is
that's
a bit
like,
of a
I really
stretch.
like steak, and you're a vegetarian. I got to go out and get some steak. It's like you can do without it.
But for a person who is bisexual, but is only a bottom with other men and a top with other women, and has never topped a guy.
That's you're describing, right?
No, it's him.
Oh. Okay.
Well,
so
actually, it could be both of us.
okay.
And therein lies the problem, right? Is that both of us are bottom, so to speak, except he's more flexible in that. It depends on whether or not he views me to be a woman or whether or not he views me to be a man who presents as a woman.
Can we give him a radio name so that we're just...
Thunderbuns is his radio name.
really?
Yes, he has one
Thunderbuns?
already.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can I take a guess as to why?
Sure.
Does he have a really nice ass?
He does.
Okay, Thunderbuns. Cool. That's a great radio name.
Thank you.
So how long have you and Thunderbuns been texting back and forth? Months, you said?
Months, yeah. I mean, lately it's every night when we get off work, we spend about an hour texting each other.
Do you sext as well as text?
No.
There's no sexy pictures going back and forth?
He sent me a lot of shirtless pics, I know, but I don't
Nothing
know.
below the belt?
No, nothing below
How
the
do you know
belt.
he's not small and a quick comer? Like the other guy.
I don't care if he is. I mean, for him it would be worth it, you know?
Uh-huh.
I'm not interested in him for the sex. I'm interested in him for the person.
Right.
The sex could be fucking awful, and at this point I really wouldn't care.
Interesting.
Because yeah, it is interesting, and I can't believe I'm saying that, actually.
Sometimes it's not the most important thing.
It's not in this case. in every other case, I would have been like, but I've primarily had relationships with women. So
and did you have sex with women who were really bad at sex?
some of them, yeah. My ex-wife was awful at it.
How was she awful? I
Like-
hear
Like
the
she was the
expression dead fish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, she wasn't. I mean, she didn't just like lay there or anything like that, but she was from the same sort of rural Mississippi background that I am.
Uh-huh.
She wasn't a Christian either. She was an agnostic, which it makes my soul cringe to say.
Why?
Because agnosticism deals with knowledge and not belief. But she believed there was a God. She was a deist or a pantheist for all intents and purposes. A lot of them call themselves agnostics because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But agnosticism deals with knowledge and not belief.
Right. It's in the word.
Yeah, right. But they don't fucking know that. They go, oh, I'm an agnostic. I believe there is a God, but then humans don't know anything about it. Okay, so you're a fucking deist. That's the word you're looking for, you dumb bitch. So she was a deist or a pantheist.
Uh-huh. You married this woman?
I did.
You proposed?
I did while we were fucking. I don't know if that counts
What
as
is
proposing.
wrong with you? Why would you do that? It sounds like you hate her.
I did not hate her. I don't hate her. No, not at all. The sex was bad, but
you proposed while fucking.
I loved her enough.
This doesn't make any sense.
I love it. It was. I'm weird.
Were
But-
you on drugs?
No. I loved her enough to leave her because I'm trans instead of dragging her down this road because she would have come with me. She would have put up with all of this shit, even though that I knew it was driving her crazy because it's rather like needing to gasp for air being trans, where so often in my life, I just had to dress in girls' clothes. And I knew it bothered her because she didn't know about this when we got married. She didn't know about this until several years into our marriage. And it was very clear that it bothered her. She married a cis straight male. She didn't marry a cross-dresser. She didn't marry a trans chick.
Right. So you changed.
I changed.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
it was
not fair.
No, it wasn't. And I left her because of that. I was like, look, I know that you love me and I love you, but I know that this bothers you. And if we continue down this road, it's going to fucking destroy you. So I'm going to leave you. So I left her. I didn't hate her at all. I still don't hate her. I love her to death. But she wasn't right for me. So I cut her loose.
Do you get looks around Keene? You live in Keene?
I do live in Keene.
Do you get looks?
Occasionally. Actually, like a few weeks ago, I had to get a tire replaced because it was about to blow out. Stupid story. And as I was walking home, some truck stopped and was like, hey, you need a ride? And as I approached, I was like, what did you say? Because I didn't hear you. And it was like, oh, he goes, oh, fuck, you're a guy. And he starts rolling up his window. So me.
It's like, never mind.
Yeah, me being the person I am, I just started laughing hysterically because that was funny as fuck, right?
Yeah.
And so I walked around the truck making sure there weren't any reverse lights or anything like that because people are fucking nuts. I'm from Mississippi where if somebody was to do something like that, there's a pretty good chance they're probably going to run you over when you walk behind them.
Yeah.
Maybe not a 50%. I mean, when I say pretty good chance, I mean too much of a chance to risk. Maybe 1 in 10,000, but that's still too much for me. So I'm watching for reverse lights. I get around on the other side of the truck and he rolls his window down. And he says something about me needing a ride or something like that. And I'm like, no, I'm good, man. He's like, come here. Come here. No, I'm fucking good. Because I was like 50 feet from the house at this point.
And you don't know if you're in danger or whatever, too.
Right. And I'm in some fucking parking lots. Of course, I got my 38 with me.
All right.
So I start reaching for that.
You carry daily?
Yes, in my
Nice.
purse. Yeah.
All right.
So I start reaching into my purse for that. And he says something else. And I was like, nah, I'm good. Go ahead. Because I'm still laughing. Because this entire scene is just so fucking stupid. But I was proud that until I opened my mouth, I was evidently completely passable.
Yeah.
So
it's sort of a mark of pride for
yeah,
you.
I was like, you know what? That experience was kind of funny, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm just happy that this guy saw me and he sat there in his truck and he just thought I was a chick.
Yeah, you did it. Pat yourself on the back.
Right.
So
that was how I chose to see it.
So you made it. Hey, I got in a little bit of trouble for saying something a little controversial, that LGBT, T doesn't belong in the LGB.
I don't agree or disagree. Why do you say it doesn't belong?
It's not part of the same thing.
No, I agree entirely, actually. Fuck, I agree entirely, because a person's sexual orientation should not be defined by their own fucking gender.
Yeah, why
Right.
did T get thrown in?
Yeah, if you're masculine attracted or male attracted, if you're attracted to men, there should be a fucking word for that. It doesn't matter if you have a penis or a vagina. You should be considered masculine attracted. Right? Whatever Greek or Roman word we want to use for that.
Sure.
If you're into women, it shouldn't fucking matter whether you have a penis or a vagina. You should be feminine attracted.
Frankly, I don't want any of the letters to be thrown together with G. G should be on its own. You guys can all be in your own club.
Well, why not lesbian?
They got their own club. We're
Okay,
not
fair
part of
enough.
we're not part of the lesbian club.
That's true.
I don't hang out with lesbians.
Me
I don't think
either,
we should be throwing
actually.
parties together. I don't think we should be in the same organizations that are fundraising together. We got different issues.
Well, I feel like I should tell you the LGBT community is generally not fond of me.
Well, what I'm saying is there is no LGBT community. We're all on our own.
Yeah, I would agree. But
We got
not,
the G's and the L's and the B's and the T's. Everyone's a man. Every man for themselves.
yeah, and every trans woman for themselves.
Yeah, every
and
man, woman, trans,
yeah.
whatever.
Well, I mean, ultimately, we're all individuals, and we're all out for ourselves. And I
yeah,
think we
but
probably...
I mean, as groups, we can collectively group into our letter. But that whole LGBT thing, and now we've got QQA.
Oh, it's LGBTQIAAAP plus, the
Yeah.
last I saw.
What's P?
Poly?
Poly. But what?
I don't fucking know, man.
That doesn't belong.
It doesn't belong. Not at all.
They're not in my club.
I would agree. I don't know if I would say they're not in my club.
They're not.
Because I'm not sure that I have a club. I mean, if
You're
I
in the T club.
If I have a club, it's fucking in this room of people who are libertarians.
Yeah.
It's people who are uniting together because of their beliefs and their shared values and not because of their shared characteristics.
But you call yourself trans.
I do.
So you're in the T club.
Not if you ask other trans people.
Oh, really? Why do they say no?
They fucking hate me.
Why?
Because I use the word shemale and fag and oops, I really shouldn't say that on Twitch. And tranny and things like that.
Oh, really? That one's not allowed?
I think it's allowed for me to say it and for you to say it.
Oh, but we're okay. We can't like disparage people with that word.
Well, I don't think technically.
Not that I want to.
Yeah,
but
I don't think we're technically allowed to say it anyway.
Hmm.
And I think that we probably only get a pass, or they turn their blind eye to it because of other characteristics we happen to have. So I mean, they discriminate on the basis of gender and sexual identity. So like, oh, this straight person said it. No, ban.
You're not SJW enough.
Right. Well, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know. And SJW probably wouldn't say it in the first place, I would think.
Can we get something out on the table?
Sure.
Can we clear the air?
Absolutely.
I thought when we met, you didn't like me.
Why?
I don't know. I just got that impression.
We met at a fucking dance party.
Yeah, I thought you didn't like me.
I'm a really socially shy person.
Yeah.
I mean,
you didn't have anything against me that I didn't know about?
No. And you're not
It's
the
okay. You can say it.
I swear I didn't.
It was you?
No, it wasn't you either. And you're not the first people to bring this to me. Like, look, I thought when we first met that you didn't really like me. That you really
Other
didn't
people
like
say that
me.
to you?
Yeah. Rich Paul said this to me a few days ago.
Why?
Because I'm socially fucking awkward.
Okay.
I don't.
Do you think you put up a
I'm extremely
defense?
shy with
It's
people, I do
It's
put
like
up
an
a defense.
angry,
I don't know about angry.
pissed off, I hate you glare sort of thing.
Did I seem angry?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wanted to clear. I can tell we're on a good level now.
And this is back when we first met at PorkFest?
Yeah.
I seem to hate you?
I not hate. That's still a little strong, but I thought you didn't like me. I thought it was like, fuck that guy.
God, I really have to work on this. I do not, and I have never had anything against you whatsoever.
All right, good. Then we're good.
We are good. We were never bad.
All right.
So
I'm glad we got that. Glad we got through that.
Me too. Let's take a few here because I need to go have a smoke and release some wine.
What do you want? What do you want for music?
Trance is good.
Don't you record your own music though?
I do, but I don't
You
have
should
a
play
full
something-
song available. Sure, there's soundcloud.com/Aria DeMezzo if
Yeah,
you
you
would
should
like
play
to
one
pull
of your
that
own
up.
songs.
That's not. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think there's only 2 songs on there right now. both of them are excerpts that we use on Call to Freedom.
So it's Demetzel
Falling from
because
grace,
it's a
mission
Tuesday.
aborted, 3 a.m.
Let's do
Go with
3
mission
a.m.
aborted.
Oh, mission aborted.
You don't want to go with 3 a.m.
All right.
Now I want to
it's-
do 3 a.m.
Okay, go with 3 a.m. It's fine.
There we go.
Cool.
It's not as high quality. It's one of my older songs. So I'm going to go smoke. We'll be back in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. This is Aria Uncensored, and I'm joined by Derrick J.
You're willing to take calls, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Just to be clear.
Yeah, give us a call at 603-283-6160 or use the Discord call-in lines at discord.lrn.fm. Welcome back. This is Aria Uncensored, and I'm joined tonight by Derrick J. Freeman, who I know from Victimless Crime Spree. Which
and so do you, listening at home.
Actually, I know you from PorkFest, because it was only like 2 months ago that I actually sat down to watch Victimless Crime Spree. And I have to say...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Really awesome film.
Yeah.
Really great. For those who have never watched it, you should go check it out. That's victimlesscrimespree.com, where you can order a DVD of it, right? And it actually aired here on the theater in Keene, correct?
It aired where?
On the theater.
At a theater, yeah. Yeah, in fact, one of the stars of the movie came, Jason Short, showed up. I invited him personally to the premiere, and...
Was he one of the cops?
Yeah, he showed up in his cop car. Like right on cue. It was like awesome. I wish he stepped out onto the red carpet and like took some pictures or something.
We invited him. He just wouldn't.
But he came.
He did.
He was there.
He didn't come to watch it?
Leather gloves. No, he didn't come in. I think he was on duty.
Oh.
Had to work or whatever. But
but it was really awesome film. I really want to see an addendum because the ending, I don't know if you've watched it lately, but the ending is so goddamn depressing. It ends.
Is it?
It is.
It's
ends,
sad.
Yeah.
It ends on one of the most depressing notes in cinema history.
It is. It is a downer.
Which is like, I'm leaving New Hampshire. I fought for freedom, and I was thrown in prison, and
that was rough.
And I have no doubt that it was rough. But you need an addendum. But look, I'm a successful businessman. I'm a co-owner of AnyPay or co-CEO or however it's phrased.
We had a 5-year anniversary screening out in Portsmouth at the theater that accepts cryptocurrency.
Yes,
out there.
they do.
The Seacoast Repertory Theater.
Yeah, nice plug for them.
Sure, but see, I just Googled Victimless Crime Spree.
Yeah.
And I clicked the first link, which was the YouTube video, and I watched it there. And
had you gone to the website, you would have seen.
Yeah, but there was none of that on the YouTube
there
video.
There should be a quick follow-up, but like a 5-minute thing.
Like, hey,
I'm all right, it's okay.
Yes, I would love to fucking see that added to the end. Like, look, I'm in a position now where I do a fucking radio show with a topless chick in a fucking suit.
Well,
so
still
I'm doing good.
Yeah, I always did that.
Did you?
Yeah. Have you seen in the chat on Twitch? Do you know this Reviler the Red?
I do know Reviler the Red.
Have you heard this term? Aria is the Tranarchist Queen.
I've heard Tranarchist. Yeah.
That's awesome. You should go with that.
It's one of the labels that I use. Yeah, the Tranarchist.
I like that.
It's a bit. It's less jarring than anarchist shemale.
Because it's almost like, what'd you say? Did you just say Tranarchist?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
So what is he saying in generally?
Just you are the Tranarchist Queen. That's all.
Okay, fair enough. Sure. Yeah, let's go with that. Rev, of course, you or anybody else is invited to give us a call at 603-283-6160. Or you can use the Discord call-in line at discord.lrn.fm.
What I wanted to say, though, as the executive producer of the movie, which I'm super proud of being involved in it, is the 5-year anniversary that we had. We did a question and answer session after the screening, and that's where you can get all the things you're talking about, of Derrick talking about how his life is going now and what he's doing now, what he's focused on now, and how his life has changed over the last several years. So that all exists, and it's all on the website at victimlesscrimespree.com. There's links to, in fact, not only that Q&A, but also the one we did after the premiere in Keene 5 years ago. So you get to see the Q&A from the premiere and the Q&A from 5 years later.
Yeah, that was a really happy time. So it was a happy ending. Everything ended up great.
Yeah,
and it's still
I see
going
that
great.
you've had a happy ending, but the movie does not.
Yeah. Well, I think it works.
Not every movie has to have a happy ending to be a good movie. I mean, you enjoyed the shit out of it, right?
I did. I loved the hell out of it. As I was telling him, it was very inspirational for a liberty activist to watch.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also important to be true. Like the whole movie, I'm just trying to be as true to life as possible of how things actually were.
That's where we were at the moment that that film was made.
Yeah, we cut that last scene like right up until the last day, but before publication. So it's like fall time in the last scene, and the movie was released in September.
The movie was being made while you were in jail with Bo Davis.
Yeah.
That's why I say an addendum would be great.
He and the editor actually worked on the movie in jail together.
I feel that, but it still leaves on this note that I'm going on a self-imposed exile. I'm leaving New Hampshire.
Well, I did.
But you're back in fucking New Hampshire, and you're happy.
Yeah.
And you're still doing activism, less likely to get you arrested activism, but still activism. You're still advocating for the cause of liberty and for just doing your own thing.
Yeah. It's way more tame. Out in Portsmouth, the vibe is very different. There's a lot of letters to the editor. It's very snooty, nose in the air type place. And it's less in your face. I really am attracted to the in your face activism that Keene is known for.
Me too.
It's so gripping.
Come back anytime.
Yeah, yeah. It's attractive. I do like spending time in Keene, and the things that you guys do is really fun and cool.
But Keene's not as hip. We don't have like the cool clubs and shit like you guys have out on the seacoast.
Well, I mean, we can fix that.
Either.
Really? Is that why you made your own?
Yeah.
Especially if you move back. I mean, we can certainly fix that.
Yeah.
You have a fucking trans chick here. You have 2 gay people.
Yeah.
Scores is for sale.
Yeah,
hey,
Scores
really?
is
There's
for
a
sale.
club for sale here?
Yeah, the old railroad. You remember the railroad?
Yeah, I do.
It turned into Scores. Now that's for sale.
Wow. And with the college right down the road, you could probably throw some really great parties. My dream would be no alcohol served, so there could be 18 plus and all the college kids could come. Of course, they could bring their own alcohol, right? We're really going to check at the door. But then
if it's a private club, you can legally bring your own alcohol.
Well, not 18-year-olds or whatever.
Well,
we wouldn't
true.
want any problem. But I would want it to be welcomed for 18 and up, and I wouldn't want alcohol. I wouldn't want smokers there, So the concept would be, sorry, smokers can come, but you have to pay double.
You're on the show with like a drunk trans chick who smokes.
I'm just saying I wouldn't supply it, and I wouldn't.
But no one would,
I wouldn't encourage it
outside.
Yeah. So I had to clean up.
So they
a
could
bunch
smoke outside.
I threw a party recently, and I didn't have to clean up after the non-smokers. But I had to clean up.
You have a great
after
point.
The smokers.
You fucking smokers out there, you fucking disgust me. You really do. Like where I work at, I go outside and there's like fucking 15 goddamn cigarette butts now. You are 15 fucking feet from a fucking dumpster. If you do not have the energy to walk your fucking ass to the dumpster to throw your cigarette butt away, then you shouldn't fucking smoke.
It's like an attitude about life, though, that a lot of smokers, I think, have, which is like, I'm going to die. What do I care? And, just like, it's not. You're not taking care of yourself.
You care because you're otherwise a disgusting piece of fucking shit.
Well, they're not taking care of themselves.
I'm looking at it and like, all you have to do is fucking throw this thing away. Well, I'm taking care of myself. I do still have this addiction to nicotine that I facilitate by continuing to smoke.
Well,
because I've been through opiate addiction, and I have absolutely no withdrawal, no intention whatsoever of ever going through withdrawal again.
Well, would you do a nicotine pen?
I have tried that. They do not scratch the itch.
I heard that you can get more nicotine from a nicotine pen than you could from a
But it's not
cigarette.
just about nicotine.
Have you tried Rich Paul's Juul?
No.
Try it.
It's about so many other different aspects of what is the cigarette. It's not just about the nicotine. If it was about the nicotine, you could just slap on a Nicoderm patch and go about your day and not have any issues.
It's the smoke,
not
it's the combustion in your lungs that you
I don't know exactly what it is, but I know that vaping does not scratch the itch.
I like that. I'll tell you, I was a smoker for 5 years, and I love the feeling of that smoke and that like choking feeling of like just inhaling a bunch of smoke. It feels awesome. I really, really love it. I know that it's bad for me, so I don't do it, but I can kind of see where you're coming from. The nicotine is not everything.
Right.
That's not what it's all about.
I don't really care if it's bad for me or not, because that's the perspective I take where, I am going to die anyway. At least now I have a pretty good idea of what's going to kill me.
That's my point. So people who smoke have that attitude. Therefore, if they don't care about their own bodies, then
you're
why would
going
they
to kill
care
yourself,
about the environment?
but you don't have to fuck with everybody else.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, anyway, that's why you pay double when you enter my club. Because I have to clean up your cigarette
But not me,
butts.
because you won't have to clean up my cigarette butts.
No, I'll probably have to pay you to be at my club.
Mine will either be in trash cans or in a designated ashtray.
Yeah.
Or some sort of receptacle that one would expect trash, because cigarette butts are fucking trash. And when you throw them down on the goddamn ground like a piece of fucking white trash, you're throwing trash on the ground. And that's my thoughts on that.
All right.
Because, god damn it happens so fucking much. And I had a bag out on my back porch that ripped open and that scattered during the winter when there was snow and shit falling.
A bag of cigarette butts?
Yeah.
Gross.
And it scatters, cigarette butts all across the yard, and that was an issue. And I'm still finding fucking random cigarette butts to this day. I'm picking those fucking up, obviously, when I find them. I'm not just fucking leaving them going, oh, this fucking goddamn plastic fiberglass will melt at some point in the next 10,000 years. Right. And that's what these and they throw them down on fucking asphalt. What the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck environment were you fucking raised in that made you say, oh, I can just throw this fucking down? You piece of fucking shit. Pick up your shit. That's my message to other smokers. You make me look bad. Fuck you.
Yeah, they do. It's not fair. I'm glad. I hope that you convinced them. You said you got off opiates?
I did.
How'd you do that? Did someone lock you in like a building or something?
No. Well, my ex-wife did, almost emotionally. She went full-on drill sergeant on me.
She was like, look, you're not leaving the house.
No, she let me leave the house.
You're going to smoke this bowl?
No, I wasn't able to smoke weed. For some reason, smoking weed at the time made it lit up my body in pain.
Oh, no.
And I have no idea why. I assume it was because I was withdrawing from opiates, right?
So you were feeling it more intensely?
But she was like, she controlled every dollar that I had. She controlled every moment of where I was, because I still had to work and things like that.
For how long?
For about a week.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't because she was trying to help me recover or anything like that. It was because she was pissed.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she was pissed that I had blown through like $16,000 in savings in like 6 months, and kept telling her, oh, it's because gas is so expensive.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So she was super pissed off. But I have to admit that, if she had handled it any other way, if she had been any nicer, I would still be on opiates to this day.
There's a guy I know who helped a few people in the South Jersey area get off of heroin, and
I was never on heroin. I've never in my life done heroin.
Okay.
It was only painkillers, prescribed painkillers, Lortabs, and Percocets.
And do you think that's better?
Oxycodone. Well, it's not injecting it. I think that the injecting it probably creates a more intense addiction than just popping pills.
Yeah, probably.
Like other family members, like my sister and my father, they snort theirs.
Mm-hmm.
I never did. I've never in my life snorted a Lortab. If you can't just fucking take it, I really don't want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I don't want to snort it. I've snorted my fair share of ecstasy, but that was different, I would allege, because you can't snort ecstasy every day. Right.
Sure you can. I did.
I guess you can't, but not for long.
Yeah.
Right.
It's bad.
It is.
I stopped. I didn't realize how bad it was.
How long did you do it?
It was for a summer. It was basically pretty addicted for one summer of 2010. And I was just partying every day, all day, every day. That whole summer, it was awesome.
I went through a period of taking ecstasy for about that same period of time, but never snorting it extensively.
Yeah, I was snorting it. And
there's really no benefit.
It's faster. It's way faster.
It's faster. Yeah. But
I didn't want to wait half an hour or whatever it takes to take it orally. And I would just go right up to the club, and it.
Through most of it,
great.
I smoked weed during that first half hour, so it kind of went by pretty quickly. And then suddenly I was rolling. I was like, oh, okay.
It's more pleasant that way. I think people can handle it a little bit better. It's not good to snort things. But my point was there's a guy in South Jersey who helped some heroin addicts get off heroin by offering them a room to stay in his apartment and then basically locking the door and giving them as much weed as they wanted. Just like, here's weed, here's water, I'll feed you. I think it was like a charity.
Right.
Just a private one guy.
Well, that's certainly
charity.
an act of humanity, an act of compassion.
Yeah, and he helped, I would say, probably a handful of people in the area get off of heroin that way, and it took probably about 3 days per person.
Really?
And,
is that it?
Yeah, I think that's the
because the
heavy
half-life
part
of like
being,
opiates or most opiates is like 4 days.
Yeah, maybe a week or something, but I thought that was really cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Good on him for that. I wish we could have more of that here in the United States. But we can't because so many people just get so butthurt when you talk about helping people treat their illnesses without Suboxone. Because most of my family is on Suboxone. They just swapped one fucking addiction for another.
Well, what I really wish is that more people had access to clean sources of the drug that they want because they could probably manage it.
I would prefer that. Like if... they could just go into a store and buy heroin in the same way that they do cigarettes or wine or whatever.
Like, you like cigarettes, but you're not going to smoke as many that will kill you. You'll stop before then. And probably same with the heroin addict.
Well, not me. But I'm weird in that I really don't give a shit if I die or not.
Huh.
Yeah. I mean, I know...
How do you expect anyone to care what you think about the world if you don't care about yourself?
I care about myself. I just know that I'm going to die. And it doesn't particularly matter to me whether it happens 10 years from now or 40 years from now. I don't want to live past 50. This is a personal issue I have with aging.
Yeah.
But I don't want to live past 50.
Is there a reason 50 is the number?
I mean, it's as arbitrary as anything else. I mean, to me, that just seems old
as
fuck.
It's not that arbitrary. It's like probably over the hill. It's you're in your decline maybe
I figure
by that time.
If there's anything I wanted to do that I hadn't done by the age of 50, then it was probably something that I didn't really want to do.
Maybe you weren't rich enough.
I mean, sure, there are those factors.
You could get richer when you're older.
Sure. But I mean, most of the things I want to do, they aren't, because I'm kind of a Buddhist in that regard. Most of the things that I genuinely want are not dependent upon money.
My Aunt Ricky's really old. She just turned 100. Maybe she's going to be 101 this year. And she was really important to me as a young person. But she's so old now that she doesn't really even know what's going on. And in New Jersey, where she lives, they're talking about the possibility of ending life with dignity.
Mm-hmm.
And
euthanasia for people.
Yeah. And I really wish she could have that. I feel like it would be the most respectful, honorable thing for her.
Well, I'm pro-suicide. I phrase it that way on purpose. I believe
she should do it herself.
Well, I mean, she can have somebody else do it as long as she consents to it. I don't really care.
But I don't think she knows what's going on, is the thing.
Well, she might be past the point of being able to consent to it, in which case, trusted loved ones who she's had with her through most of her life would be able to consent to it on her behalf.
Yeah.
But look, her quality of life has lowered too much. But at the end of the day, I think a person owns their life. And they either own their life and can end it at a time of their own choosing, or they don't. The idea that we can't commit suicide is this idea that our lives belong to other people. And that, to me, I find morally unforgivable.
How do you want to go?
Preferably in the least painful way possible.
Drugs?
Preferably in my sleep.
No drugs.
Really. I mean, if I'm high when I die, sure.
Have you heard of these parties? These parties that people have where they are going to die, and so they invite all their friends and have a big party, and then basically just kick it?
I have done extensive amounts of suicide research.
Okay,
way
so
more than any sane person should.
I think
so.
Was it Albert Hoffman
or
Timothy Leary or one of these guys who was real psychonaut?
Timothy Leary.
Yeah, he was the one who in his
I believe
final days had a big party and had everyone
I don't
over
know
and
if
they
that
all
was
took
him or
acid?
not. That sounds like Timothy Leary, but I don't know if that was him or not.
That sounds attractive to me.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you're going to go out and you know you're about to die,
Go out with a party really feeling good.
that's why they're like, we're prescribing all these opiates to old people and things like that. I'm like, dude, who gives a shit?
You think
They're 80 years old, man. If they want to fucking go out on morphine, let them.
Mhm.
I mean, let them do it. Who gives a shit? People are going to die, and however they die it's going to suck either way for the people involved.
They found that psychedelics have helped people come to grips with death, right? So people who are terminally ill or whatever, taking acid or taking mushrooms or whatever towards the end of life helps them come to understand and accept the idea that they're going to die. I think that's interesting.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm as fucked up as I am in terms of, my perspective on death is because I've done so many psychedelics. I'm just like, this life is passing.
Just the next cycle.
Yeah, it's just what happens fucking... I don't think there's anything next. I think this is just a fucking ride. It's brief, it's fun, and then it's over.
How do you know you don't just go right on another ride?
Well, I don't know. I don't know in any direction. I don't have any reason to believe that we go on to another ride. Would be my contention.
It doesn't look like people go on another ride from what I see.
It certainly doesn't. And,
Looks like they're dead.
There's people who talk about, well, their soul goes on to another ride, but you're like, okay, well, what constitutes the soul? And people are like, well, it's their personality and their spirit and things like that. And they start.
Well, that part's true because.
But it isn't true. In fact, it's scientifically provable to be false.
What do you mean?
Because a person can suffer a traumatic head injury and their personality change drastically.
Oh, but I'm saying.
So the psyche, the consciousness, the personality is 100% dependent upon whatever physical chemistry they happen to have in their heads.
Yeah, for that person's body, but also personalities are contagious. And so with all the time that I spent
What
around...
does that mean?
Well, I'll explain. With all the time that I spent around Aunt Ricky and the personality that she has rubbed off on me. And so whereas her soul won't go and live on in her body, her soul, that spirit and energy, goes on in me.
Perhaps, but so do her genes. And it could be just a manifestation of those genes within you that are linked with hers that cause you to see that manifestation.
Yeah, it's probably related.
But that would make it dependent upon the physical, the corporeal, rather than the ethereal or the spiritual.
Well, she's not my grandmother. We have similar genes, but I'm saying, a person who you don't have any genealogical relationship to, or very little, could have a huge impact on your personality and the way that you carry yourself, even after they're dead.
Sure, but it's ultimately a nature versus nurture argument, I would suggest, in the fact that, in the light of Richard Dawkins, who characterizes human beings as gene machines, how much of our personality is actually something that we control, and how much of it is just a byproduct of genes and environment, which itself is a byproduct of other people's genes. It sort of feeds upon itself.
I perceive that I have a control over my personality.
But do you? Could you be anyone other than who you are?
I think so. I think at the beginning of the day...
Could you choose to be like, I'm not gay anymore?
Well, my experience tells me that I get to decide a lot about my reality.
But that could be an illusion, correct?
It most definitely is an illusion. And that's why I get to decide it.
Well, see, that's why I'm a nihilist, because I'm not sure there's any choice whatsoever. I'm not sure there isn't any choice whatsoever. I have no opinion one way or the other. Well, but a lot of people assume they are making choices like, this wine glass is empty. Did I choose to drink all that wine, or did I ever have any choice? And was I just biologically programmed, and as a result of the environment and biological programming and a really long fucking chain of events that led me to be here drinking the wine?
Is that called determinism?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
But yeah. I think determinism has sort of an end goal in a sort of theistic sense. And I'm not sure it requires a God or not. It comes back to M theory. If there is a theory of everything that explains everything within the universe, then it explains why this glass of wine is empty. It explains why I chose to drink this glass of wine.
Well, that theory says you didn't choose, right? That theory says you had to.
Right. Yes,
That
exactly.
theory says there is no choice.
And there may be such a theory, and there may not be. We don't know. Right.
Well, there are theories, but
my perception is that I choose.
Yes, but you would perceive to choose in
Yeah.
accordance with this M theory if
Yeah.
you were programmed to perceive that.
Yeah, but like I wake up in the morning and I can sit there and decide, I'm going to have a good attitude about today and things are going to go my way. And when I do that, they generally do.
But the ultimate question is, could you have actually chosen otherwise?
Could I choose to have a negative attitude?
Yes.
Yes.
I know in theory, sure, you could have, but in real terms, could you have actually chosen on today to have a negative attitude?
It seems so because
it seems so.
Yeah,
yes.
but
could you have? Just because something seems to be the case doesn't mean it is.
Removing choice from, I understand what your argument is, and removing choice from our daily lives removes the point. Like, what's the point of being here in this reality if we can't make a choice? I'm not saying you're wrong. You could be right.
I feel you. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying I don't know.
But if it's all pre-described, or predetermined based on whatever factors, then what's the point of it?
The point is to be happy, I would suggest.
But if you're not choosing, then you don't get to decide.
But you can still be happy.
Well, then you're choosing.
Maybe.
Yeah, because
happiness is a choice.
Yeah, sometimes I have to choose to be happy.
That's sort of the free will rabbit hole.
Well, there's an analogy that I heard one time that I thought makes a lot of sense. It's that your mind is like a garden, and it requires weeding. And so if you don't actively weed out the bad things that will just emerge in your mind, then you'll have a garden full of weeds. But you can actively choose to weed that garden and create something really nice.
Right, and I'm not sure how we got onto this topic in the first place, but my contention is that, you have no way of knowing whether or not you actually made that choice, or whether or not, just these series of factors of environmentalism and naturalism feeding upon each other led you to make that choice because there was no other outcome. I don't know how we got onto that.
You could say that, but that's, a defeatist viewpoint, and it doesn't serve you in any way,
right,
shape,
and I'm
or
not saying
form.
I believe it. I'm just saying I don't know, and it's a distinct possibility.
Well,
for all we know, we never had any choice but to be in this studio right here, right now, talking about this.
Wait a minute. I can absolutely know that.
How?
Do you disagree?
I don't disagree or disagree. I would require you to present your case and your evidence for how you absolutely know this.
I assert that I do choose every day, and I'm choosing right now to have this discussion with you.
Okay. You can say that, sure.
Do you think that's not true?
I'm asking you to demonstrate that it's true.
Well, I'm choosing right now in having this conversation. So you don't think that's true?
Could you choose not to have it? Do you think that
You're on the level of questioning reality, which I appreciate, and there's nothing wrong with the thought experiment. But ultimately, if you want to go down this road, then you can just say that it's all a hallucination or it's all a computer simulation, and you can't even prove that Derrick and I are real. And it's
what I'm trying to do.
What's the purpose?
What I'm trying to do is corner Aria into taking a stand, take a position, and say that I'm not choosing, because in doing so, you're choosing to have the argument.
My position is almost always going to be I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's a cop-out. Take a stand.
It's not because I don't know. Recognizing the limitations of my knowledge and the limitations of my sensory perception is not a cop-out. It's a recognition of my own human fallibility.
Well, let's say that you did argue, or that Ian argued, that I'm wrong, that I'm not choosing. Then in this interaction where I'm saying I'm choosing and he's saying, no, you're not.
But see, that's an assertion that would have to be proven itself.
Right. So if the negative claim if the claim that I'm not choosing would have to be proven, and the claim that I am choosing would have to be proven, wouldn't the person who's claiming that I'm not choosing be choosing to have that argument in the first place?
Not necessarily.
They could just drop it.
They could be a product of their own biological, genetic and environmental manipulation themselves.
I just
to
think
be
that
contrarians or whatever.
By like using words and using your mouth to even articulate a point is an example of choosing.
This is you're arguing not necessarily for, but you're arguing in favor of determinism. The idea that
I'm not arguing in favor of it. I'm saying I don't know.
You're asserting that it's a possibility, and it is I suppose, a possibility.
It is.
The doctrine that all events, including human action, are ultimately determined by causes external to the will. Some philosophers have taken determinism to imply the individual human beings have no free will and cannot be held morally responsible for their actions. So that's what you're saying.
And I actually
that's
believe
your viewpoint here.
Well,
I'm not saying it's your viewpoint, but that's the one you're promoting.
Sure. And I actually believe in will is the distinction I make that separates the individual from the collective, is that even though the collective is a group of people who come together to produce a net effect in the same way that an individual person is a collection of subatomic particles coming together to produce a net effect, the difference is that the individual person has a will and a consciousness. That is the distinction between a group and an individual person.
You could question that too.
Sure.
Because it could just all be a simulation,
It
right?
could be. I mean, it at least appears to be the case.
It could just all be you, and we're just computer programs.
Absolutely could.
Who are here to, and
but it at least appears to be the case.
I do kind of think that is how it is, but it still allows for choice. There is just one creator, and that one creator is all of us, and we are choosing. The whole thing is choosing.
Oh, I tend to agree with you on that.
Well,
because I don't understand the purpose if you can't choose. What's the point of watching the same thing play out over and over? I mean,
I'm of the mind
creator's
that we are
aspect.
all creations of the universe, that we are all linked inexorably, and that we may not even recognize it because of the limitations of our sensory perception.
Totally agree. Yeah.
But there is ultimately, we are how the universe experiences itself.
That is the panentheistic viewpoint 100%, and I am totally in agreement with that.
Yeah.
That is my general perspective.
But the reason the universe is doing that, if there is a reason, is because it wants you to be able to choose, so it can experience.
I don't wish to prescribe a reason to it.
So
it
can
just
experience
is how it is.
your choice, because otherwise it just knows everything, right? What's the point?
I don't know. I can't speculate what something as grand as existence.
Well, right. Yeah, we can't project ourselves
right.
onto.
I mean, naturally,
the
and I'm not
universe
saying
or
you
God
are,
or whatever.
but I mean something as grand as human existence. I mean, just existence in general. Just the fact that there was nothing, and then suddenly I was like, "Hey, here I am in this fucking LRN studio in New Hampshire, aware of my fucking existence, and in 50 years I won't exist any longer." That's a marvel that is far beyond my stupid human brain's capacity to recognize or understand.
Well,
rad.
If you accept the Christian perspective that God created us in our
Christians.
image, I'm not saying that.
I know.
Right? That if God created people in His or her image or whatever, then that includes the ability to choose, right? That's one of the things that a God would do.
No, it didn't. God intentionally restricted the ability for humans to choose by restricting the ability to know right from wrong. That was what caused the whole Garden of Eden fiasco in the first place.
I don't see any evidence for
What was
that.
wrong about eating the apple?
Well, it's right there in the Bible, in the book of Genesis.
Yeah, but I don't see any
Just a
evidence
book.
that
He specific no, and none of this is true. Obviously, it's all bullshit made up by humans. But he specifically restricted human beings from having the knowledge of good and evil in the first place, and then he expected them to make a fucking moral choice about whether to listen to the serpent or whether to listen to God, about whether they should eat this fucking fruit. So he said, "I'm not going to let you know how to tell right from wrong, but here's this test. You should be able to tell right from wrong."
Fuck you up, man, in that
Man,
shit.
fuck these Christians. That's what what the Bible literally fucking says. If you read the Bible, it becomes inescapably clear that Lucifer is the good guy and Yahweh is the evil God all the way through. Yahweh lies. He tells people, "You're going to die today if you eat this fucking fruit." And Satan comes along. He's like, "Oh, you won't fucking die. You'll have the same knowledge that he has about good and evil." And who was fucking telling the truth? The goddamn devil was telling the truth. And Yahweh was a lying piece of shit trying to manipulate you into
Bible's
being
a
a good
fucking
little
mess.
obedient fucking robot.
I mean,
fuck
right.
Yahweh and fuck Christianity.
You're absolutely right. I mean, the Bible is an absolute fucking mess. You know? Like, if it's God, then he knew you were going to make that choice, right? Didn't God want you to make that choice in that particular case? If God is omniscient, which is what the Christian view is, then God knows everything, and of course that takes free will out of the picture. So the whole Christian God, just, chuck it in the trash.
Yeah,
If you believe in free will. If you don't believe in free will, then you can believe in the omniscient God.
Well, there are Christians who somehow believe in free will.
Would you include the Muslim and
I would
Jews
include every
in
goddamn
that?
one of them.
Yeah,
Like Zoroastrians and all that. I think
all
it's
the
same.
Abrahamic
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever read the Book of Job, guys?
Oh
I
yeah.
have not.
Yeah, and it has some beautiful passages like, do you know how fucking grand I am? How dare you judge me according to your moral
This is
standards?
God
It's
speaking.
really good. So
I'm the
just-
creator of the goddamn universe, and you're asking me how I can allow bad things to happen to good people? You can't even fucking comprehend what I'm doing here. And I can agree with that sentiment, but it's still a fucking cop-out.
So to summarize, for people who aren't who didn't go through Sunday school as much as we did, the Book of Job is from the Old Testament, and Job is this really wealthy landowner who has a bunch of cattle and a healthy family, and he's just got it great. And he loves God. He's always worshiping God, and the devil comes over to God and is like, Job only likes you because you gave it to him so good. And God's like, nuh-uh, I'll prove it to you. And he's like, I'll let you do whatever you want, devil. You can do whatever you want to my friend Job, and he will still love me. And so Job,
What a great God.
yeah.
Right.
So
That's a bastion of goodness if I
the
ever
devil,
heard one.
like, first he kills all Job's cattle, and so he's like, that's your wealth back then, and so he's destitute, and then he's like, well, I've got my family, I'm so happy, I love you, God. And so then he strikes all his children with like sickness, and so all the children are dying, and he's like, well, like I've still got my house or whatever. Lights the house on fire. It's just like every bad thing happens to Job, just like the worst life, and he never gives up. He's always like, whatever is my fate, I love you, God. You're the best. And so the devil loses the bet, and that's the end, basically. Just like, I don't know. Is there a happy ending? Does Job get his children and
No,
cattle
it's
back?
a fucking horrible ending.
Yeah,
And
it's
Thomas
just
Paine
like-
actually wrote a book about
Yeah.
it called The Age of Reason, where he intensely not demonizes the book of Job, because I tend to agree that he's right. If there is a creator of the universe, then that creator is so far beyond our understanding that it is unbridled arrogance to say, how dare you allow bad things to happen to good people? But that's
Yeah.
essentially the moral of the book of Job, is that, we can't understand the mind of someone who could create something of the universe's scale.
Yeah, I think the lesson, basically, of all of the Bible is like, look, there's authority, and you're supposed to obey. It's just don't question it.
Yeah.
Just deal with it.
Of course, that would be the lesson. That's what humans wanted,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They wrote it.
That's what they still want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and fuck them and fuck that message.
And they probably didn't take enough psychedelics. Like, probably the Eastern religions, it seems like they had a little more psychedelic influence. Like, maybe they were getting knowledge from somewhere else.
There is
Was it
something
deep inside of them.
especially revelatory about Buddhism in particular.
Mhm.
And its whole, there is suffering. Not I am suffering or anything like that, but just that life itself is characterized by the existence of suffering. And that to live is effectively to suffer, because we're all going to die. No one that ever existed, or no thing that ever existed, was ever guaranteed happiness. But every single thing that has ever existed was guaranteed suffering. If only in its death, it was going to experience suffering. And that is such a truism that it's like, okay, maybe you were in touch with something. Maybe you did fucking meditate for long enough to just go, okay, I have reached an entirely different plane of existence. And I don't say that in any sort of spiritual sense or anything like that, but just that their understanding of reality reached an entirely different level than what the ordinary person is typically going to lead them to conclude. But it's absolutely correct, I would say. The Four Noble Truths of Buddhism are probably as close to an objective truth as human beings are ever going to get.
I read some good Buddhist books in jail.
Buddhism is great. I characterize myself as a Buddhist, and that's prior to the
You're not an atheist. I'm sorry, but you're not an atheist. I mean, you are by definition a panentheist.
A pantheist?
If panentheist. See,
A
I had to learn the difference.
panentheist?
I had to learn the difference. It was actually Dale who taught me the difference.
Oh,
Dale
really?
Everett, yeah,
Cool.
between pantheist and panentheist. If your statement about the universe coming to know itself,
Well,
through
we know
our
the universe
experiences.
exists and that we're part of the universe.
Sure.
And that we are inseparable from the rest of the fucking universe. I mean, that's a scientific
That's a pretty new
fact.
age view, but yes.
But it's a scientific
it's
fact.
Right. And the argument is science is converging with religion in the sort of this
With
new
Eastern
age
religion and,
view,
and,
yeah.
and Buddhism in general. That's what the book, The Dancing Wuli Masters, is all about.
Yeah.
I would recommend people read it.
What's it called?
The Dancing Wuli Masters, Wuli. it's got a lot of pseudoscience in it. But your point about pantheists?
A pantheist is someone who believes that everything is God, right? That the whole universe, everything is God. A panentheist is something that believes that not only is everything God, but everything that's not is God, right? Whatever source that the things spring from, the energy field that's out there, the things that we cannot see, that which is outside of our experience, is also God. So that's the difference.
But I mean, that's just calling existence God, is it
sure.
not? I mean, so why even do that? Why just say, okay, well, nothing is God?
Because it's greater than the individual.
Well, it certainly is that. I will concede that point. It's significantly greater. Like, we can't comprehend the scale of even the fucking galaxy, much less the goddamn universe.
Or that which is within.
Yeah. I mean, it's just levels of stuff, because there's no really better way to characterize the existence of galaxies and solar systems and all that. It's just shit out there. There's just too much of it for the human being to process. Even the most insane mathematician is going to look at hundreds of billions times hundreds of billions and go, yeah, I don't know. It's a fucking lot, man. What do you want from me?
And I'm curious about something.
Okay.
I don't mean
Absolutely.
to interrupt.
No,
I don't want to change the topic too hard.
Yeah.
But you have like pink hair.
Uh-huh.
So how long have you had pink hair?
It's red hair.
Is it pink?
It's red.
Oh,
I would think.
okay. I'm sorry. It's
for long enough.
It's light red.
Yeah, it's red hair.
It needs to be dyed again.
So, like, do you have a hero or a heroine or whatever with red hair, or is that like what kind of choices?
I'm aware of.
Why the red hair? Is it like does it help
How about
broadcast extra feminine?
Lilu from The Fifth Element?
Oh yeah.
I fucking hate The Fifth Element.
Really? Oh, you kidding?
I have never been able to sit through the whole.
We're gonna have to disagree on this. Finally, we're going to disagree.
Not even that like opera part where she's
no,
singing
like
the song.
half an hour into the movie, I'm just so goddamn bored that I have never finished it.
Wow, you can't please everybody. That's like
I
one of
guess
those.
not.
To me, that's one of those movies that has it all.
I've always heard really good things
got
about it.
Action. It's got a love story. It's got like shit that's bigger than life, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to watch it all the way.
When was the last time you watched it?
Probably the 8th grade.
Oh.
Who are your heroes? Who do you look up to?
I look up to myself.
Anyone else?
No, fuck everyone else.
So, like, when you decided the red hair, there was no influence on there?
Not really.
When did you do it?
It was several years ago. Long enough ago that when I had to dye my hair for work briefly, and
To a different color?
Yeah, to my natural hair color. And I was able to dye it back. Following the bleaching, it was actually pink and not brunette. Long enough that the hair itself had just fucking turned red, in full disregard of my natural hair color. So, I mean, more or less, it's since I came out as trans, I started dyeing my hair this color.
Did you ever do sexual things for money?
No, actually.
Does video games count? Because I did that.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that
counts.
Does Camgirl count?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Come
don't.
on.
Then yes, I don't consider that to be a sexual thing in and of itself, though.
Of course it is. The people watching it sure do.
Sure. But I assumed the question like that was more geared toward prostitution or something like that.
No.
Okay, then sure. Yeah, absolutely.
What was that like?
It was very ineffective.
You
Because
didn't get paid well?
I did not get paid well.
Did it hurt your feelings?
To not get paid well?
No, to do it.
No. Not getting paid well was more likely to hurt my feelings. I don't give a shit what other people think.
Why'd you do it?
I don't
Just
have
for
those
money or?
I don't have those stigmas infecting me, where people are going to judge me for doing that. I should feel bad about doing this thing.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
If you want to do it again, Chris Reitman's got a site.
Really? What is that?
He's got
Does
some
he?
kind of fucking.
He's got his own cam site?
He reps some kind of porn site or whatever.
I need to
Cool.
talk to him because
Is it crypto?
I don't know.
I'm significantly more passable now than I was then. Then I wasn't even on hormones.
Yeah.
So I need to talk to him.
He's right next door.
Yeah.
Huh.
But it wasn't about money, really. It was more about, will people willingly pay to see me naked?
Yeah. Did it give you some kind of validation?
It gave me sexual satisfaction.
So you actually were turned on by the fact that you were performing for money, or
Oh dear God, yes.
so was the money a more arousing part of that, or was the performance the arousing part of that?
It was 50-50, perhaps.
Okay.
Knowing that people were turned on enough to give me money, however small the amounts were.
That's a validation that turned you on.
Sure. I don't know if I would use the word validation.
What would you use?
It was just a element of the kink that turned me on, I would say.
Hmm.
I don't like the idea of my identity, my needs being validated by other people.
Right.
I validate myself. I don't really need them. You know?
Yeah. So it was like just an extra gift.
Yeah. I mean, it was fun at the time. Very low quality camera. Not much fun. I wasn't very passable. I think I still wore a wig then, in fact. Yeah, I mean, it was that fucking long ago.
Wow.
So, yeah. It's something I think I'm on Pornhub right now, in fact.
You are?
I think so. I've never been able to find it, but I do know that I engaged in some sexual encounter.
I was on Pornhub.
I had met this guy through Grindr, and at one point during festivities, I noticed that he had Pornhub and some sort of live streaming app open.
He was broadcasting you to Pornhub live?
I believe so.
Wow.
I have never been able to find it. I assume he didn't have very many followers. But I mean, somebody with only 12 followers or things like, if you Google redheaded trans woman gets fucked in the ass or something like that on Pornhub, you're not going to get somebody with only 12 followers as your top 5,000 results, right?
Well, get this.
So I think it's there. But
I had a couple of paid for view videos up on a private website that somebody paid for, ripped, put on Pornhub, and then my sister's friend from college, who's gay, was browsing Pornhub, found the videos and was like, "Oh my God, I think that's Derrick." Sent it to my sister.
Oh my God.
Word got back to me, and yeah, how about that, huh?
Yeah, that's awkward.
Yeah.
That is definitely awkward. As far as I know, none of my family is aware of most of what I get up to on a general basis. Of course, I don't get up to a lot anymore. I did mess around with Grindr and all of that, but I had a close call with chlamydia.
So?
Yeah. But
what's the big deal about that?
I don't want it, would be the big deal about that.
Yeah. Don't you use protection?
Yeah, I did with random people on Grindr and things like that.
So how'd you get the clap?
It was probably completely unrelated, in fact. And and that was what I was about to get into, is that I had uninstalled Grindr months before I found out that I had chlamydia. But Grindr is a fucking waste of time, by and large. There's a lot of guys on there who are looking to have their sexting fantasy fulfilled so that they can masturbate and then fall asleep. Very, 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 very few guys out there who are willing to drive one goddamn mile to have sex. Guys are so fucking lazy today.
What?
You've been with Steven for a while, so I'm assuming you may have missed out on this. But
I used Grindr.
Yeah, maybe some years ago. But now, if you were to try it, what you would find is that guys are overwhelmingly too goddamn lazy.
To drive?
It's not just to drive. And you can go fucking volunteer to go to them. It doesn't fucking matter. It's, oh, well, I have to work in 8 hours, so I need to go to bed. So what the fuck is it? I drove from Mississippi to Las Vegas to fuck this chick once.
What, did you already send pictures or something? Because sometimes they finish early.
That's exactly my point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, on some occasions I did already send pictures. But
yeah, so they finished. That's all.
That's not all. That's
lazy.
the fucking underlying issue, is that they are too goddamn lazy. They've accepted that their hand is just as good as having sex, so they might as well just do that.
Reviler the Red said that you'll call Christians assholes, but you'll never call Muslims assholes.
Muslims are absolutely assholes.
Boom. Oh, thanks for taking the opportunity.
Yeah. Jews are fucking assholes. They're every fucking monotheistic person I have ever met was, not every single individual, but every single monotheistic religion that I have ever encountered has had participants who are fucking assholes.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say every participant is an asshole, but every single one of them has participants who are assholes.
Well, are we going to end this on a high note?
Yeah, I think we probably should.
We should say something happy.
Happy. I am a happy person generally.
But you don't choose to be happy. It's just deterministic.
I may choose to be happy. It may be deterministic. I don't know. But generally, I am a happy person.
Well, I'm glad that we cleared the air that you don't You never disliked me,
No,
as far as I know.
Yeah, and I wanted to discuss that further. I have no idea where that came from. I mean, as I said, you're not the first person to tell me that, but no.
I just thought that.
I'm just
but you
kind
don't
of
think that anymore.
No, I never thought that. I never had anything against you or Stephen or fucking anybody.
Well, this was really fun. Thanks for having me on. I had a lot of fun
Thank
doing
you for
this.
joining.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. So this has been Aria Uncensored. Tune in, actually probably not next week, but tune in the week after next for another episode, for episode 4. It's going to be awesome.
You have a really cool chat room, too. These people are active.
Awesome. That's good to know.
Yeah.
How are we doing over there?
In the chat?
No idea.
You talking about on Twitch and D Live?
Yeah, sure.
We had like 32 something at one time.
Yeah, I think Twitch got us over 30 and D Live was at like 20 at one point, so you had 50, I think.
Sweet. Interesting content. Thanks for the content.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good night. This has been Aria Uncensored. We'll see you tomorrow on Call to Freedom.